If you're ready to shift from marketing activity to business achievement, this is where we deliver the maximum impact.
We focus solely on unlocking top-line revenue growth through strategic integrated marketing efforts. Join us as we explore the systems that make sure every dollar invested is paid to perform. We have heard it all. You just need to go viral, or it's all about traffic, and the more traffic that you get to the site means the more you're going to sell. Or maybe it's just build a campaign and set it and forget it. Today, we're going to talk about common misconceptions about advertising, common myths, and we're going to debunk them right here, right now. My name is Ken Massa. I'm your co-host and president of Mass Inbound, here with Bobby Jakubek, co-host and director of client success. Let's kick it off.
Let's get started. I'm excited. This is a good one.
Yeah, you hear it all. You're like right at the forefront of this, right? When we get inquiries to the company, you're one of the first people they talk to. So you might even think of a couple of extras here, but you hear this probably more than anybody.
Every day.
Yeah, every day. All right, let's start with the first one. Isn't it just you build the campaign and you set it and forget it? Yeah, I wish it was that easy. That's my first remark there. Definitely not the case in many areas. But what's your first comment to that?
How are you supposed to improve the campaign if you set it and forget it? How are you supposed to make sure the campaign's working accordingly and quote unquote optimizing if you just set it and forget it?
Yeah. The biggest thing, and I get it, like if you're not on the back end of these platforms, you're not really going to know how they operate and how they work, but it's dynamic, right? Every platform is different because on search, you have keywords that trigger, one element is keywords that trigger the reason for your ad to show. So if you're setting it and forgetting it, you're definitely going to see keywords that come into play, especially if you have phrase match or broad match that are not in alignment with your company, your services, your products, which if you set it and forget it is going to be a bad thing because then you're going to be paying for keywords paying for clicks that originate from keywords that don't even align with your business. What we do is we negatively target those keywords. So you add them as a negative keyword so that if someone searches that keyword, you don't show up for that. And if it's not in alignment of your business, then don't show up for that. It's hard for people to realize that process is ever living. That the way that people search, especially now with changes in trends, with using AI, the way that they search changes and evolves. And these short tail or long tail keywords need to be constantly reviewed and analyzed and segmented. So optimizing your campaigns is crucial. If you don't touch your campaigns, you are going to overpay all day.
And if a competitor comes, at least from the Google perspective, a competitor comes in and throws a big budget at Google at specific keywords, it's also going to potentially sabotage your campaign and totally shake the market. So you need to be forward thinking and making sure you're staying on top of these changes.
And if you don't touch your campaigns and a competitor comes in, do you think that performance is going to hold? No. Because they're getting their market share too. And as they get their market share, your market share is going to swing down. Your costs are going to go up. The amount of lead volume is going to become less and it's going to cost more. Because the set it and forget it strategy is not a realistic strategy. Campaigns need to be optimized. We look at campaigns daily, daily, every day.
Yeah.
Every single day.
Depending on everything. From Facebook, you've got everything from creative fatigue to winners, losers. Google, you've got kind of that whole, think of it, the way I like to look at it, it's more of like a stock market where you're looking at the keyword biddings and making sure, like I just talked about with competition, nobody's shaking the market and you're squeezing the most dollar because at the end of the day, that's making sure the ad dollars are being spent efficiently is the most tedious part of the process, and that's why you need to consistently look at these campaigns.
And if you really want your paid advertising to perform, no pun intended, to the way that it should, you have to be doing really two things I think of. One, optimizations very frequently. You have to look and review at every single piece of this, right? And there's different layers. There's the campaign layer, there's the ad set or ad group layer, and then there's the ad layer. And at all of these different layers, you have to analyze where the performance is coming from. Also, be implementing like split testing and be forward thinking and getting better. Like if you're just setting something and forgetting about it and you're not looking at it, you're definitely not split testing to think about how can I swing a conversion rate by 2 or 3 points. Like you're not thinking about how to be progressive and forward thinking to be ahead of the curve, because it only takes a little bit of effort for your competitor to come in and replicate what you're doing, and then now your strategy is kaput. It's done. It's not unique, and your performance is going to be thrown off. So optimizing frequently, but then on top of that, we set alerts on everything too. Like if in the off chance that we don't catch something before, a KPI or some type of variable gets hit, like no lead volume within X amount of days, lead cost hits a certain threshold, we have alerts that notify us before this so that we could just be very, very aggressively on top of everything. So, use technology to be in front of that and make sure that your numbers don't go out of whack.
Yeah, I mean, for instance, it's all algorithm based as far as the data and how each platform sees it. If you just set a campaign, let it go, you get all of this traffic, but it's not the traffic you want. They think, since you're not going on the back end and optimizing it, that you're happy basically with these campaigns and the way they're running, so it can even make it go from bad to worse.
Yeah, you're 100% right. Yeah. If the algorithm doesn't understand that the analytics are not aligning with your business, right? For instance, if you're basing data off of visitors on a website and the platform thinks it's good because it doesn't know who the visitor is, totally, it's just seeing that visitor and it's basing it based off of quantity, but that visitor isn't really good quality, then you're going to continue to get poor traffic, continue to get not the right people because it's thinking that it's doing the right thing. These platforms are super algorithm based these days. There's a lot of tech behind these in trying to find the best person for your business, but without optimizations frequently. And this happens on all different places. It can happen on Google, it can happen on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Google local service ads. We've seen it destroy campaigns because they just don't get touched. And if Google can't learn in a way that's going to help you find more customers that are your ideal customers, it's just going to serve you whatever. And we know what that leads to. It leads to bad customers or no customers.
Yep.
And a lot of advertising dollars spent in the wrong direction, and then there's no return. So not a great thing.
Nope.
Another thing that I wanted to mention before we move on to the next myth is there is a caveat to this. You don't want to have a very short vision on the campaigns too. This is all relative to budget and time. More budget typically takes less time to gain enough data to make optimizations. If you don't have a higher budget, you have a lower budget, it's going to take more time to gain that data in order to make smart decisions, right? Everything is data driven. But if you're thinking of things in like 1-day views, I mean, you've seen this happen as well. Like that short term thinking is not good.
Yeah, because then you turn more reactive than proactive because you're trying to, all right, what do I got to do to fix this, this, and that, rather than, all right, here's my set schedule. Yes, I can deviate on the path a little bit, but for the most part, like as long as I have a strategic plan in place, don't jump ship in 24 hours. Like make sure that the data is captured, the due diligence is being done. One platform like Facebook compared to Google they have different maturity times as far as optimizations and everything. Just understanding the whole picture will give you more clarity before you make impulsive decisions.
Impulsive decisions will screw you. Just stick to the plan. If you stick to the plan, and then also if you have an idea of like trends and the time periods, then it'll help you not think so short term. But if you are doing what you just said, it's just like jumping the gun too frequently and in a very short time period, we're like deviating from the plan, and 24 hours, 48 hours later, you're never going to have the data that you need in order to make that smart decision. And also, you're jumping the gun too early, which means that you never really let your plan take effect anyway, because you just cut it off too soon.
Mhm.
And we see that all the time. People they cut it off too soon. They make decisions too quick. So you got to find that graceful period between making smart decisions that are driven by data, but then, not bleeding of budget. So if you're taking too long, don't bleed ad spend,
Mhm.
but then also don't cut off your plan. Like, stick to your plan, be strategic, and make decisions based off of numbers, not based off of emotion, which is very similar to the financial markets. Myth number 2, more traffic equals more sales. What do you think about that?
I wish that were the case. I would say quality over quantity in anything in life is what you're looking for. So if you were doing the reverse method, you're not going to be that successful. And say you have a high ticket item, but all you're getting is like lower end traffic. I mean, I've seen it with campaigns before where you can get 100 clicks without converting. I mean, it looks good from a clicks perspective. Some of the data can look good, but at the end of the day, like we talked about in the intro, like it's about converting your marketing investment into a return, into sales.
Yeah, I think you hit a nail on the head. Like, it's got to lead to gross revenue.
Mhm.
Like, if it doesn't lead to revenue, who cares about how many people see the ad, or who cares about how many clicks you got, or what the click
Mhm.
through rate is, or like that does none of that matters if you're not getting any sales.
Mhm.
It helps make better decisions when you are getting sales, right? Improved click through rate means more people that are going to the landing page or the site.
Mhm.
But if you're not getting sales, then it does not matter. So I think it's a very simple explanation on this. And you said it, quality is the most important thing. So quality is big. And then, certain platforms bring traffic at lower costs, but you have to think, is it my customer? Which goes back to quality, but is it my customer? Like, the cost of traffic is variable on platforms, but is the cost of traffic relevant to conversions? All right.
Yeah, where at the end of the day, if the data could look better if you're getting $10 for somebody to fill out a lead, which isn't it's more than just a click, it's someone filling out a form or whatever the case may be. The data could look better if it's $10 per lead or per click, but if the $40 one is the one that converts and my ticket, I have a $2,000 product, whatever the case may be, like I'm willing to pay that extra money because I know I'm gonna get actually the return and it's gonna be fruitful in the long run.
Vanity metrics, that's all it really is, right? Like, more traffic is going to show you better vanity metrics.
Hmm.
The metrics that actually matter are the ones that lead to sales. That's
Agreed.
it. Cool. Myth 3, creative doesn't matter. What are
Well,
your thoughts?
I would love to chime in. Our producer, Mr. Ty Moss, our creative director. I'd love to see his thoughts. Do you have a microphone?
I don't.
Oh,
Sorry.
he doesn't have a microphone, but you could see the look on his face whenever that comment's made. I mean, the creative is your digital brand. Does your brand not matter? Because I'm pretty sure your brand is arguably the most important part of your business.
I think it's becoming increasingly more important. Like, increasingly, do we see that leading with a better creative leads to better metrics down chain,
Mhm.
right? Like, creative is the first thing that they're going to see. If they don't know your brand, they don't know your product, they might
Mhm.
be a potential customer of the product based off of the qualifying factors that we deem important, like maybe where they live or who they are, what they do, their behaviors, all that kind of stuff. But in today's society where we have so much content out there, so much in the news feed, when you're scrolling, what's going to stop the person to scroll? Creative.
Yeah.
Creative is a really important thing. And I think creative, if done right, will lead to better revenue numbers, will lead to better clicks, better click through rate, better, you know, total impressions potentially, because the platforms will understand that more people like seeing that content, could be beneficial. And you just see it all around. I mean, creative's important.
Yeah, and how it's ever changing. I mean, 10 years ago, stills was everything, and now it's turning more to like that short form video aspect. You could see it on the TikTok, even Instagram, like Reels is how many people are more often to like watch reels or short clips compared to like scroll through pictures. So it's always changing, but it's always that creative element that really captures the viewer and helps essentially give you sales.
Yeah. And there's pieces of creative. Like creative has so many details too, right? The hook, the style, the format,
Mhm.
the duration. There's so much into just creating creative. And we'll have a completely different segment that dives deep into creating a better creative and what you need to think about and the format and how to structure a stronger creative. But if you don't think that creative matters, it's probably right now affecting your campaigns in a negative way. 100%. All right, we're going to break out into like a rapid fire here. Mini myths that we hear, misconceptions, and give me your 60-second thought on it. Social media marketing is just about posting content.
It's funny because I actually hear these, and I mean, it. I I kind of understand the perspective of people saying that because then it's something's better than nothing, but at the end of the day, like it's more important about it goes back to quality over quantity. It goes back to you want people to have a good impression of your brand. You want people to have a good impression of everything that you present as a business. So you want to make sure that everything you're posting meets expectations, making sure it's going through a creative review process. So you're not just, oh, I'm going to put this up and I need to put something Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If you do need to do that, then you need to make sure you're planning it months in advance and making sure there's an angle that you're taking while posting these creatives, or you're just wasting your time.
Yeah, and I think today what you're seeing is the community too, the level of engagement
Mm-hmm.
is really important, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you're looking at people that have big audiences, like look at their level of engagement, right? And it's like it's less about the follower count these days and more about the individual video.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You see one-offs where they get 1 million views, but the account has a low follower count. The other videos or other pieces of content have low engagement or low likes and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And every piece of content is individually valued now. And I think we think that because of TikTok, but it's on every platform. It's on, you have YouTube Shorts now, you have Reels on Instagram and Facebook and, your TikTok style stuff. And you see it everywhere. So be strategic, like map it out, be strategic. All right, next one. You have to be on every single social media platform.
No, you need to be on which platform is going to cater best to your audience.
Correct. Yeah. Getting in front of the quality amount of viewership is important.
Yeah, so if you have a audience of 65 plus, TikTok's probably not your best option. I mean, you can post and you can try, but the ROI is not there. The time invested compared to the return that you're looking for isn't going to be there because these people are more than likely going to be on Facebook or your Googles or your Bings, the older platforms, I guess you could call it. But just understanding kind of what your target demographic is and which platforms they use. I mean, if you're a business to business, you're probably better off being on LinkedIn or being on those other. I mean, Google's good for any industry for the most part, but that's pretty much my 2 cents.
Yeah, it's about the audience on that particular platform
Mm-hmm.
and putting your content in front of the right audience
Mm-hmm.
and being strategic about that and aligning with your long-term goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, last one. A great product sells itself.
A great product, but how can it sell itself if nobody knows about it? If there's no awareness around that great product, then how is it going to sell itself? How are you going to get the demand? How are you going to get the attention, interest, demand, action?
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. I think that, yeah, I have seen bad products sell like wildfire,
Mm-hmm.
and I have seen good products that don't sell. And we see it a lot actually. And then when we say products, we mean products and services too,
Mm-hmm.
because you could be the best at your craft in offering an amazing service, but at the same time, if no one knows of you,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you're not going to sell. Sales is definitely it's a full funnel approach, and looking and we talked about this a lot today too, going through a lot of these different myths. you really need to be thinking about a full funnel, right? First, awareness. If people do not know of you and people do not even know of your existence, they're not going to consider working with you. They're not going to consider purchasing your product because they don't know of you.
Yep.
You can't blame them. They don't know of you,
Yeah.
right? So the first thing is definitely, which is top of funnel, awareness. The second thing after they are aware of you and they do know of you is creating consideration. After being aware of your brand or your product or your service, why should they consider working with you opposed to someone that sells something very similar to you? Why should they work with you and your service if you're putting your company out there, you're putting your brand out there? What is your unique value proposition and what creates your unique piece in the market? So considering that, you have to think about not just becoming aware, but then escalating all of your features, your benefits, your value proposition to that audience. And then third is conversion. After they do consider working with you, having a process of converting them is really important. So it's more down funnel, but converting them. And of course, every single person that becomes aware of your brand is not going to be a buyer. So then that becomes a little bit more narrow, getting those that consider your brand. And then everyone who considers your brand might not be the person to buy your product. For instance, yeah, a lot of people want Lamborghinis and Ferraris, but there is not a lot of people that have the financial status to be able to afford that product. So those who consider that product or desire that product may not be those who convert to the product.
Mhm.
So conversion is then, the most, I would say, thin out of all of that. But again, it all falls down chain. More people aware, more people consider, more people convert. And beating that process, just to death is like the most important thing. Just continuing to escalate that, continuing to become that name in the marketplace, because you never know who becomes aware and who is ready to consider. Timing is important, whether that's a seasonal thing, whether it's a financial thing. Timing is a huge aspect, right? The right timing to commit to a sale is huge. There's a lot of people that we talk to, right? Timing is just
It is seasonal trends, just all the different variables that come into just the market and what kind of cultivates a consumer to make a decision, to make that action to, I'm going to buy this today or I'm going to get this today. And once you actually get that consumer for the first time, it might sell itself moving forward because they kind of have there's that reputation element that goes along with it. But for the most part, if they're not aware of your product, if you don't have any branding, if you don't have any type of strategy into play, you're just setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, biggest takeaway here today is don't let common misconceptions, myths, sayings, or phrases that people have hold you back from executing marketing and advertising strategies. Don't let them hold you back from leaning into these practices and being more aggressive because you're afraid. Like, go in with your all, give marketing your all, give advertising your all, but not only give it all of your effort, give it time, give it the process, because it's a process, right? And if you do so, I think you'll learn that it's very data-driven. And the decisions you make need to be made with an educated decision based off of the numbers. And what works for one person can completely not work for another person. So when someone says something doesn't matter or doesn't work, it might not for them, it might not for their business, it might not for their industry, for their location, for their customers. Like, there's so many variables. So don't let a phrase or a misconception lead you to not taking action, because that's the worst thing. But then if you try it, you throw some money at it, you give it some time, give it some effort, and it doesn't work, then at least you're doing it with a calculated decision. You're not doing it based off of what, JoJo said. You're doing it based off of value.
Then you have data to kind of move forward and advance, even if it didn't meet to your certain standard, you still have a baseline that you can progress moving forward.
Exactly. All right. Well, stay tuned for upcoming episodes. We're going to be diving deeper into segmented marketing approaches in the coming weeks.